Maximizing the chances for retirement success typically starts with investing and investments made earlier in one's career and then allowed time to blossom and bloom as you head towards retirement. I wanted to share 10 of the best investments that I believe that I have made before now, obviously, to get to retirement. Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Andre. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're returning, as always, thank you so much for coming by. I truly, truly appreciate it. So when we talk about investing, people typically tend to think money, what should I invest my money in and so on. But there are other investments that one can make to help one get prepared for living off of those investments and reaping the rewards of those investments later in life. So let's go through these 10. Number one, and these are in no particular order. They just came to me. I was writing them down and I was like, yep, these 10, and I tried to put them in order, but I chose not to. So these are just kind of off the cuff. Number one, living a debt-free lifestyle. Very, very important. Debt can be the killer of a retirement plan. If I'm living beyond my means and buying everything that I might find interesting and want to, and then incurring debt to be able to make those purchases, that takes away from money and the time for that money to grow that I can have to use to then get towards retirement. So living a debt-free lifestyle, that was the first thing that popped into my head when I started thinking about, hey, what are the best investments that you have made in life? Number two, becoming a homeowner. Appreciating assets versus depreciating assets. For many of us, real estate, the house that we live in, is typically going to be the biggest asset that we are going to own. We may buy cars, clothing, furniture, whatever it might be. But typically our largest asset in terms of cost is going to be our home. And homes, typically, following history, have been appreciating assets. You buy a home for $100,000. By the time you sell it, however many years later, it might be worth $150,000 or whatever, as opposed to a car, which is typically, not always, but typically a depreciating asset. So you buy a car for $20,000 and 5 years later, it's worth $13,000 or $9,000 or whatever have you. And many of the other things that we purchase, a refrigerator or whatever, we buy it for X price, then depreciates over time, and then maybe sometimes we just end up throwing it away because it's depreciated to completely nothing. But home ownership typically has been a very good investment for folks, and in my case, absolutely, home ownership definitely was a major investment win for us going forward. Number three, becoming a landlord. Our best single financial investment for us, not necessarily for everybody. Let me tell you a quick story here. So typically when one buys a home, at least in my history, is when you want to then upgrade to a different home, you sell the one home and use some of the proceeds from that selling of that house to put into purchasing the next house. So when my wife and I met, we each had houses. She sold her house and we moved into, quote unquote, my house. But it was too small and we eventually purchased our house. And then after several years there, we decided we wanted to get something that, we started to have children and so on. We needed to have a little more space. So we decided to purchase another house. So typically we would sell the one house and buy the next house. But in that particular time, we decided to see if we could keep the house that we were in and purchase another house, which we did. And our thought process at the time was to keep that house that we had been living in, rent it out, and then we would use the rental proceeds for helping to fund our daughter's college education. It was actually, that's what happened. We thought that we would take the proceeds, we would sell that house when she went to go to college, and then use that to pay her college tuition. What instead happened was we were able to use the rent payments to pay college tuition, so that when she graduated from college, the house was paid for, completely clear, and paid for, and we still owned the asset as opposed to having sold it to pay her college tuition. Boom, we now had a very, improved asset that we had. The price had increased dramatically over time, and we now had that asset. We could use those funds from that house for our retirement. Absolutely an amazing, and still to be considered to be the best investment, the best financial investment that we have ever made. Number 4, marrying a partner who has a similar point of view on managing finances. If you and your partner are not on the same page, it is going to be very, very difficult for you to have a successful retirement. Many divorces and unsuccessful retirements and so on come from two partners not being on the same page financially. If you have a particular point of view in terms of how you manage assets, try very hard to connect with a partner who has a similar point of view. If you're constantly at loggerheads over, hey, I want to spend this, I don't want to spend this, I think we should be saving money for retirement, I don't think that that's a big deal, let's just deal with how things, what the bills and so on that we have in front of us today, you're setting yourself up to have a very unsuccessful retirement. Number 5, moving to a lower cost living area. When I graduated from college, I've said it on here before, I was in the Washington, D.C. area. I went to Howard University, and that's a very expensive area to live in. So it just worked out that way. I found a job at IBM and stuff, and I moved from the D.C. area to Pennsylvania, which had a lower cost of living for me. And I know to this day that when everything, groceries, furniture, housing, even automobiles, gas, whatever it is, and I'm paying less for that, that helps towards being prepared for retirement. So excellent investment to move to a lower cost area if that is something that you can actually swing. Number 6, getting a formal education. I went to college because I believed that getting my bachelor's degree and then later in life my master's would set me up to be in a higher demand for the workforce. And in so doing, I would have the opportunity to get higher paying jobs, better opportunities, and the better jobs that I got, the more money, the more resources, the more financial capability I had to be able to save for retirement. That's an excellent investment as far as I'm concerned in terms of here's what I have spent my time doing, getting a formal education, and then leveraging that to be able to then get better jobs, get higher incomes, get me better prepared for retirement. Number 7, getting an informal education. What do I mean by that? Well, learning skill sets beyond what you got in your formal education. My degree, I think I've said it on here before, is in television production. But skill sets that are really helpful to you are money management. I did not learn money management in college or in high school even. That came later through self-determination. Getting books, reading them, watching videos on YouTube, reading articles on Google and so on, and getting myself familiar with tax strategies and retirement saving strategies and financial management strategies. So I consider that to be an informal education. Learning how to do things around the house. If every time something happened to a toilet or a dishwasher or a sink or whatever, I had to call somebody, that costs more money than if I could, find a resource, learn how to do some of those things myself, and then do the ones that I can handle. I obviously can't handle everything there. I consider that part of my informal education, but it is money saving and a very good investment of my time. Number 8, buying pre-owned/used. There was a time way back in the 80s, early 90s, I guess, where I bought new cars. My first house was a new house. But cars in particular, houses tend to be an appreciating asset, but cars in particular, you buy a brand new car, it almost instantly depreciates and will continue depreciating. It's a depreciating asset. But if I buy a used car, which we have done several times over the last 30 years, somebody else has taken the majority of that first initial depreciation hit. And then I come in, and get the car for, whether it be 3 years old, 5 years old, however old it is, when a substantial portion of that main depreciation has been taken. And, if I pick the right car, do my research, and, what cars have good track records for being, well taken care of and easy to maintain and so on, then I can buy a used car, pre-owned, whatever term one would like to use, and have a better shot of saving more money. again towards retirement. So excellent investing to buy used, not just cars. I mean, whatever it might be, a used computer, used camera equipment, anything that you can buy that you are not paying full retail for, then that is going to be another feather in your cap towards retirement. Number 9, saving for retirement. And I mean like IRAs, 401ks, and all those types of retirement vehicles. As we've talked about on here before, you are going to have maximum time ahead of you if you start saving in a 401k or IRA early in your career and give that money a chance to grow, to compound towards your retirement. Also, one of the things many employers offer matching on your 401k, at least a portion of your 401k contributions. So you get tax savings in many cases, you get matching. Like I said before, many employers, you contribute 3%, they will match 3%. That is free money. So if you can do those types of things and let that money grow, if you're contributing money in your 20s and your 30s and letting it just sit there and compound and be invested in, the stock market or bond market or, whatever it is that you choose to invest in, to then when you get into your 50s and 60s and so on, that money under the magic of compounding and investing and so on typically is worth way more at that time, and that's money that you can use towards your retirement. So investing, saving for retirement, excuse me. And number 10, giving my offspring a great start in life. This one was a little interesting. I don't think a lot of people think of this. But if I spend time investing in raising my children in the best way that I know how, giving them the education that they can benefit from through the rest of their lives, showing them and teaching them, letting them learn some of the life skills that I have learned and sharing that with them. When the time comes that they are leaving the nest and going out there and doing their thing, and they're well prepared to be able to deal with the world at large, then there's less likelihood that they're going to remain financially dependent on me, which can provide a very major drag on future retirement plans. Imagine if you have done all of your retirement planning and so on, and you've got everything set, and then you have a kid who has to move back home and live with you, or has to be financially, supported by you. That's going to put a very major drag on your retirement. Also, you never know, when you get older, you may need to rely on them. So you want a well-established child who is ready to go and, and hopefully can step in to assist you if you require any sort of assistance. But the chances of your needing assistance, if you've prepared them and they've gone off and done their thing and are now financially stable and financially independent, you don't have to support them anymore. That frees up things. You have a better chance of having, a more successful retirement. So those were the 10 things that I thought of here that I consider to be the best investments that I have ever made in my life. I sincerely hope that you found this helpful, so if you did and you continue to enjoy the content that I am putting out, I ask that you will like and subscribe, please. Certainly, please give me comments down below if you have additional things. What other things have you done that you consider to be some of the best investments that you have made? I'd really like to hear those. Perhaps it's something that I did or did not do and I could benefit of realizing, yeah, that was a really good investing. Last thing I wanted to say here is, my parents invested in me. They moved to this country. Again, I shared before in here that I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, and we had really great economic opportunities here. One of the big things is they got me through undergrad, and I graduated with no student debt. I made that a goal for us as well, in terms of when I talk about preparing your own kid for success in life. That was a main goal for us. It was to try and set ourselves up in a situation where we could, get our kid through school without any sort of student loan debt. And we were able to do that quite successfully. So another major investment in terms of our retirement, because now we're retired, we don't have any debt, and we don't have to worry about our kid having any big loans or stuff still to pay for. And I know not everybody can do that. I just wanted to show an example of what's possible. All right, thank you very much. I truly appreciate your stopping by, and as always, in a later times.